Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Alan McDavid with TMJ Sleep Solutions in McKinney, Texas. This morning, I'm excited to share with you the latest appliance from Airway Management, which we've been working with them for a long time with the various designs of the tap. This is the latest design from Dr. Keith Thornton and his team at Airway Management. It's the Nylon flexTAP. And so for those of you that are familiar with the tap appliances, there's been several designs, some including the hook. The flexTAP design removes the hook, so you have the maximum amount of tongue space, and it puts the hardware outside the mouth. And so you don't have any intrusion on the tongue. It doesn't cause the tongue to retreat over time. This is the closest design to the MyTap. And I don't know if you've experienced this. In our practice, we've had some patients that have used the MyTap design, the temporary design from Airway Management, and they tend to prefer that design over some other permanent designs. And so this is the closest you'll get to the MyTap design. I like this design for a few different options. The Medicare, it's a great design because in my experience, the Medicare population tend to be a little bit older. Some of the Medicare approved designs, it's very hard to adjust. They usually involve little keys to try to get into little holes to titrate the appliance further forward. A lot of our patients struggle to do that on their own, so they typically have to come in for multiple appointments. The benefit of this design is, like the original flexTAP, all the hardware is on the outside of the mouth, so you can literally just rotate this knob and that causes the advancement of the appliance. So again, very easy for the elderly population to adjust. They're just turning the knob, and that's a huge benefit there. The other patient population that I like the flexTAP design for is the mouth breathing population. These are patients that will probably come in, their AHI may be really borderline. Their nadir SpO2 is usually in the low 90s, sometimes 89, but they never really bottom out. But these are very symptomatic patients, a lot of daytime fatigue, migraines, anxiety, things like that. And for these type of patients, my goal is always to get them nasal breathing. And so a lot of times we think of oral appliance as advancing the jaw, but the goal for me in these patients is to get them nasal breathing. And this is the only appliance on the market that comes with what they call a shield or an obturator. It's a silicone shield that covers the advancement design and essentially just seals off their mouth. And so that way it forces them to nasal breathe. And so what we find is you don't even need a whole lot of advancement, but just simply keeping their mouth closed and forcing them to nasal breathe is going to equalize that pressure over the night, and they're going to have a lot more success as opposed to another design that advances them, but then they still mouth breathe over time. So this is a critical design for those type of patients. And the last type of patient that we like to use this appliance for is our real severe patients. The reason for that is this allows over 12 millimeters of advancement in the design. And the beauty of it is you don't even need to take a bite with it. You just have to have records of the maxillary and mandibular arches and send that in, because there is so much range to advance this appliance. You don't have to send it back to the lab for a remount and then have it readjusted and have them titrate further. So knowing that, I like this appliance for the severe cases because it gives the greatest amount of advancement in there. The other thing is it has a little bit of a vortex design. So in other words, the further you advance the appliance, the more tongue space that it creates. Typically with other appliance designs, when you increase the vertical, you're going to create a mouth breathing situation. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I try to keep all my patients nasal breathing. And again, this is the only appliance that comes with this shield that covers the appliance. So great design, very slim, very easy to adjust, just like any other appliances. And there's a few different scenarios that this is kind of my go-to appliance. Usually comes with a 3-year warranty, great lab to work with. If you have any questions, I highly recommend you reach out to Kelly and the team at Airway Management. And once again, they've delivered on a great design. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.